Redditors, have you ever gotten an ick from a potential partner or love interest that instantly killed your attraction to them? If so, what happened? Talking about our interests, and after I listened to him blab about his lawn-scaping business, I went to talk about my interests, and he interrupted me to say, "Why, you really have nothing interesting to say, do you?" The amount of time he spent plotting revenge, usually against his parents or ex-wife, should have been spent introspectively and on getting his life back on track. We broke up shortly thereafter. Then we tried to reconcile. Then he smoked meth in front of me. And that was the end of that. Grabbed me by the face on the first date, stroked under my eyes, and said, "You need to take better care of yourself, sir. I'm a divorced, 37 years old with kids, and those under eye circles were passed down from my grandmother. They're family heirlooms, and get your hands off my face. We just met, and this is not a Nicholas Sparks movie." Literally every single problem she had was someone else's fault. Even when there was proof it was her fault, she would argue non-stop that it was someone else's. She got in a car wreck and called insurance over and over again to tell them that it was the other person's fault. They checked the computer in her car because it saved her speed. She was going right before the wreck. It told them everything they needed to know, and she still denied it. Had a guy once whose car smelled so bad I had to try not to throw up while sticking my head out the window. He couldn't smell it. I thought I was going to die. Turns out he forgot about a double cheeseburger in the back of his car for over 2 weeks in the hot sun. I don't know what bothered me more. The smell or the fact that it didn't bother him. He bullied someone in front of me. Instant disgust. Found out the reason he rented the house next door to his parents was so his mom would make his meals, wash his clothes, etc. Had the audacity to say, "Let me call my mom," when I mentioned I was a little hungry. She constantly thought everyone wanted to fuck her all the time, even strangers. She was best friends with another girl who she constantly spoke shit about when said friend wasn't around. In college I was seeing a girl who lived in student residence with me, but on another floor. She would always talk about how another guy, Tom, on her floor was obsessed with her and would show me texts between them. She said she only talked to him because he's harmless and that they're friends. I never met him. After a week, her ex-friend from high school pulled me aside and told me not to trust her. She said that the girl I was seeing is a notorious liar and that Tom doesn't exist. That she added her own number in her phone as Tom, would text herself, and then delete the sent messages. The only reason her ex-friend knew is because she saw the text message exchange happen in the reflection of a mirror when they were in the same room. I was close with front desk and asked if they could look up the names from that floor. They said yes, and told me that there was no guy named Tom on her floor. I noped out of that real quick. First red flag, he wanted me to drive because he had an interlock. Second, he talked about biting the ear off his ex's new boyfriend. Third was the jugs of urine scattered in his living room. There was no second date. My brief GF bought me some hair care products before she came over because it was right by her house. In return, I said I would go grocery shopping and make her a nice dinner. I thought this to be an even exchange. That night I found her looking through my trash for the receipt for the groceries to make sure that the $30 she spent on me was equal to the amount I spent on her dinner. Edit, just to clarity before it becomes two man versus woman. I saw her parents do this to her. It was her upbringing. She did this in every aspect of her life, which gave me the ick, but she did not have very good role models. Dated a guy who seemed chill, but kept talking about social media and how people/exes were scheming against him. I believed him at first until it got to a point where he thought things like a photo someone put up was an indicator that they were getting him back when these people were literally just doing normal things and posting normal stuff. I think he was schizophrenic, but it was really unsettling. Months later, he rang me out of the blue to ask me about a link between his ex, myself and a friend. The link was butterflies, and because of this link, he thought we were conspiring against him. At first I was interested in her because she seemed really cool and funny, but then it became apparent that literally everything out of her mouth was cool and funny. It was impossible to have a real conversation, even a casual one. Instead it was constant arrested development lines and sarcasm. She replaced the word dollars with doll hairs, which I chuckled at the first time, but she said it every time, like she was trying to earn Reddit karma in real-life conversations. Drove me nuts. Making assumptions about me on the first day. I suppose someone like you, or a girl like you, wouldn't understand. I am literally right here, ask me. Don't tell me what my life is, or is like. Anyway, eventually I got up and left. They messaged me what my problem is, so I wrote back something to the effect of, a boy like you wouldn't understand even if I told you. He asked me if I could avoid showers before we met. I can avoid you is what I can do. Realized he was faking seizures our entire relationship to get out of helping me do chores/cook meals. Edit, we dated for less than a year. Found out from his friends/family he never had a seizure in front of him. Came home one night after working a double. I asked him to please try to make dinner. Found him asleep and woke him up to let him know I was home/where's dinner? He said he had a seizure. This caused an argument where he admitted he faked it. He said his seizures were caused by flashing lights. Took him to countless doctors and no one could replicate what I saw all the time. After he admitted it, it finally clicked. He's been faking it the whole time. Maybe not instantly killed, but a really lovely woman telling me in a sincere voice that she loved me, 3 to 4 hours after meeting her, freaked me the fuck out in a way that I guess could reasonably be described as the ick. In no way was the statement couched either, just straight up I love you. Think I responded, no, you don't. He chewed food with his mouth open and it sounded like 1,000 octopuses being thrown at and snatched off a glass wall. This thread is saving my marriage. They invited me over for dinner, and to clean the table, they just slung the food off the plates across the kitchen floor for the pack of dogs they had to fight over. She wanted me to only call her the name of her high school bully, who was Guy, that she said she couldn't stand, repeatedly. Too much to unpack. Edit, this happened like 5 years ago. I was 23 at the time and didn't really know much about dating except for what I learned in high school and was just coming to accept my sexuality. I admit, when things started to get intense I should have ended it, but I got out. This was supposed to be a little, haha, look how crazy this relationship was thing. I cried my tears and am doing so much better for myself. She started trauma dumping on me, and after telling her multiple times that I wasn't comfortable talking about this in an extremely public place with kids around, she just kept going. She went into extreme detail too, showing me pictures and stuff. When I mentioned getting therapy she said that she didn't want to change. Hard pass. He talked in baby voice 70% of the time and only masturbated via giving his dick a bunch of small smacks over and over until he came. Making spills/messes and leaving it for long periods of time without cleaning it up. Like months. Funk house. Stepped into a smell that, I can't describe it. George Clinton would complain about it. Then, as I was sitting on the couch, noticed gnats everywhere. Looked over at a window and there were thousands living and dead in the sill. Tried to throw away a soda bottle, hundreds more swarmed up from the pile of dirty dishes in the sink. That was enough for me. Yeah, I went on a date with a girl who seemed perfectly fine. She was really nice and made interesting conversation, clearly cared and put effort in the date. But then halfway through she gets a call on her Bluetooth headset, which I hadn't even noticed beneath her hair. Ick why, but it turned me off so quick. It was a coworker calling too, and she started discussing some clearly stressful topic, planning a meeting or something. They got to near arguing, and she kept rolling her eyes and sort of half winking at me every time the coworker said something that annoyed her. She ended up saying she had just seen a car crash and she had to run, which weirdly got me back into her a bit since that's a slick move, but then immediately called another coworker to complain about the first one. And kept winking at me. This was all on a Saturday morning, BTW. One of the weirdest dates I've ever been on. She asked for my chapstick and then put it on her dog. When I was in my senior year of high school, the son of one of my mom's work friends, who was my age, was into me. I wasn't as into him, but he seemed nice enough, and I went out on a single date with him. The reason there was no second date? He kept trying to find out if I was still a virgin or not. His reasoning was that if I wasn't, then it wouldn't matter if we fucked on the first date, and if I was, he would work